And I'd like to start by thanking the Deputy Minister for his statement. I'm delighted to hear the scale of youth work that is going on. I, like many of us here, believe strongly that our heritage and historic places are a tangible and essential part of the learning journey for our future generations, to enable them to understand the history of our nation, the lives of our ancestors, and importantly, what has helped to shape our nation, good or bad, into what we and who we are today. As the Deputy Minister will know, I have questioned the First Minister recently about how we can promote heritage careers and in particularly encourage school leavers to consider training in traditional building skills, in which we have a particular shortage of workers. With this in mind, in what ways is Cadw helping to promote this during their engagement with the Young Custodians scheme and when they work with other volunteers on heritage sites? As we know, heritage is worth over £960 million to the Welsh economy, and it brings in another £1.7 billion in spending from visitors who enjoy the heritage and history that we have to offer here. It is vital that we maintain and indeed grow this sector, promoting Wales as a tourist destination, and it is vital that we have the skills here in order to properly maintain and preserve these sites. Therefore, what funding have you allocated for young people in order for them to realise the opportunities that are available to them in the heritage sector and support apprenticeships in traditional skills? Cadw's website mentions diverse communities, which cover a number of progressive categories, including LGBT and people of colour, but I'm disappointed that we have seemingly ignored an important group who have considerable part to play, that of faith communities. People of all faiths play a massive role in the preservation of community heritage. To take just one example, the hundreds of listed churches across Wales are maintained tirelessly by volunteers and have been at the centre of congregations for many hundreds of years. Church groups work actively to maintain the heritage in Wales and to promote it to the wider public. And listed places of worship are a vital aspect of local culture and heritage, which serve communities across Wales as community hubs. I feel that their contribution has not been significantly recognised, particularly since faith tourism adds considerably to the Welsh economy and needs to be done more needs to be done to develop working partnerships. So, Deputy Minister, what efforts are the Welsh Government willing to make to encourage Cadw to reach out to faith communities of all denominations and help them identify the preservation needs of local heritage and help them promote and develop the narrative of their faith in the community to help expand the financial potential of the faith tourism sector? We hear repeatedly in this chamber how communities across Wales do not feel empowered to make the choices that are right for them. And with our heritage, we have a unique opportunity to engage communities and champion Welsh history. For example, we can help to champion local historic societies, which give people a real sense of their own local history and help others to learn and engage. And undoubtedly, it helps people to realise how they can actively contribute. By encouraging participation in these groups, it's involving us all in a shared national story, built up from a local level, and giving us a sense of identity and belonging, because it's not just about buildings and objects, it's about people past and present. Therefore, what steps will Cadw and the Welsh Government be taking to involve local historical societies and communities in plans to preserve Welsh heritage? And finally, Deputy Minister, Cadw's Race Equality Action Plan calls for particular focus on race and sex-based elements of history. And as you will be aware, this interacts with another Welsh Government directive, that of the Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan. This is already leading to streets bearing the titles of Churchill and Nelson to be renamed, something we were always told would never happen. And by the way of contrast, the Welsh Government seems very keen to embrace and celebrate the legacy of Owen Glyndŵr, and he is, of course, a national figure, but his reputation is also a controversial one, and his rebellion was responsible for much hardship and misery across Wales. We only have to look at the hundreds of bodies, many of whom were children, that were unearthed last year in Haverfordwest. All historical figures like Owen Glyndŵr, Churchill and Nelson need to be treated with balance that their legacies carry. Each figure needs to be evaluated against the context and struggles of their time. And yet it seems that these revisions to our history only seem to work one way. Therefore, Deputy Minister, what steps are you taking to ensure that all historical figures are evaluated equally when it comes to cultural heritage preservation, so that this process is undertaken sensitively and not at the behest of activists and single-issue groups? Thank you.